Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. And their second race of the weekend, which is about to take to this really rather challenging 4.2 kilometers circuit. As you can see, it's very busy down there on the grid as everyone assembles ahead of the start of this 30-minute race to come for our mix of Pirelli and Pirelli AM drivers. You can distinguish between the two sets of drivers. The Pirelli drivers have the red sun strip across the top of the windscreen. The AM drivers have a white sun strip across the top of the windscreen. And the Misano World Circuit, of course, situated on the Adriatic coast here in the Rimini region of Italy, and it's really rather beautiful. Oh yes, not a bad place to spend a weekend, and of course our 2023 calendar. This is round two here in Misano, where we head off to Austria next for the Spielberg round. Then it is, of course, Le Mans, support of the 24-hour race. Then Estoril in Portugal, Spa in Belgium, and the Mugello being held, the final finale mondiale, I should say, being held in Mugello, which is not perhaps an hour and a half away from here in Misano, of course, that situated in Tuscany. The weather conditions, 26 degrees the air temperature at the moment, track temperature at 34 degrees, and there's no wind worth speaking of. Truthfully, 3 kilometers per hour as measured at our weather station on top of the main grandstand here in Misano, and some spectators to enjoy the race action from Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. And talking of the action, it will come thick and fast, and it's thick and fast and very, very busy down there on the grid, where we find Ludovica. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to everyone, and welcome back to Misano Circuit. Everything is ready for race 2 of Trofeo Pirelli. There is a great atmosphere. There is a lot of people on the grid. All the cars, as you can see, are settled up behind me, and all the drivers and the team can't wait to start this race. As you can see here in pole position today, start Eliseo Donno that catch the pole today after a good work with his team. But I want to hear another voices and the sensation of Thomas Fleming, who won yesterday race 1 after Eliseo Donno received a penalty. Come on, let's go. Sorry, thank you. Hi Thomas, congratulations for yesterday's race. Today in the morning you were very fast, and I want to ask you what do you expect from this race and from Eliseo?
Well, yesterday was a weird race. Obviously Eliseo got away at the start and made a massive gap. However, I managed my tyres really well and caught up to him and put enough pressure on him to get himself a track limits penalty. So I'm thinking it's going to play out a very similar way. I think the guys on pole position have brought out, a very similar strategy as to what they had in the previous race. But yeah, I've just got to make sure that I can get a clean break at the start and stay in P2, and then it's just a battle of, playing chess basically. Pushing when you need to and putting the pressure on the leading driver when I can. So yeah, more of the same, I guess.
Okay, Thomas. Thank you for your time and have a good race.
Thank you very much. No worries.
Guys, back to you.
Thomas Fleming indeed taking his win yesterday, and richly deserved as well. Is something of a young superstar, really, when you consider he has virtually nil car racing experience, done some karting, but has come into the Ferrari Challenge and just really set the scene. And his win came yesterday, and well done to Thomas Fleming. And we'll see what he can do from P2 on the grid today. Eliseo Donno, of course, starting from pole position, having just bested Tom Fleming in qualifying. Josef Kral, I have to say, doing a very good job as well for Scuderia Prague. He goes from P3 on the grid. Now, the best of the AM drivers is Franz Engstler. He, of course, took the Copa Shell Championship last year, elevated into Pirelli AM for this year. But there we can see Tom Fleming, and we've just heard from him with Ludovica. And once again, we go back to Ludovica right now.
Yes, Guy, continues our journey on the grid. I want to hear the voices of another protagonist of this race, this grid. Joseph, congratulations for the qualification today. And what type of strategy did you decide with the team for the race?
I mean, we are in a similar position as we were yesterday, luckily, which is not too bad. We tried different setup in the qualifying. We were a little bit unlucky with the red flag. But now the strategy will be a little bit different than yesterday, because we tried to go long, really just to survive with tires. We changed the setup because we are learning with every lap. So we need a little bit more laps. So now let's see, hopefully my front tires will survive the race and it will be good.
Thank you so much. Have a good race. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Ludovica. Good to hear from Josef Kral. They tried a different strategy in qualifying, and he's going to go long in the race, so he says. And Scuderia Prague engineering that Josef Kral car, so we'll see what he does. This is the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. Sector 1 is the most technical sector of the track, in my opinion, through turns 1 through 6. Then into the second sector, which is all about power out of turn number 9, because you run full chat flat through 10, 11, and into turn 12. Then a bit more technical once again for Sector 3, which contains turns 13, 14, 15 to complete a lap of this 4.236 kilometer circuit here, which was designed back in 1969, but came into use in 1972. Let's take a look at some of the images of our weekend here in Misano so far. So there we can see some of the highlight images from our weekend. We're not far off a minute away from the start of the race. You can see the marshal standing by to give us the minute board. The Richard Mille safety car will lead the cars away on their formation lap, and is always the case in the Ferrari Challenge that you have a rolling start, which means it will be the responsibility of Alessio Donna, Thomas Fleming, who will control the pace of the rolling start, because the safety car will peel off into the pit lane, and then it becomes their responsibility to control that across the start-finish line, and we get into racing. So there goes the minute board. All non-essential people have left the grid, and it's just the essential engineers and maybe even driver coaches, but they actually will be in position on pit purchase right now to be able to talk to their drivers, communicate with their drivers via radio throughout the race. And yeah, there's our front row of the grid. We will bring you the grid in full in just a few moments' time. Going to be a very interesting race once again. Yesterday's race was full of drama. I rather suspect that it may be the same case today. There are 20 drivers for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli, the mix of Pirelli drivers and Pirelli AM drivers that will contest this 30-minute race. We're about ready to go. And we are right on cue as the Richard Mille safety car leads them away. Here comes our grid in full then. Alessio Dono, pole position, alongside him Thomas Fleming. They are on the first row of the grid. It's Josef Kral and Ben Svalin, then on P3 and P4. for Scuderia Prague and Rosso Corsa. Then it's Franz Engstler, the best of the Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers. He has Max Mugelli alongside him. They both have similar hairstyles, you know. Simon Ladniak and Nicolo Rossi go from P7 and P8. That's row 4 of the grid. Then it's Hanno Laskowski and David Gosner, who was very, very quick yesterday. They go from P9 and P10. James Owen and Marco Zanazzi, then they're P11 and P12. And then on to the 7th row of the grid, where we find Danilo Del Favaro and Gianmarco Marzioletti. They go from P13 and P14 respectively. Kim Eriksson and Mohammed Hamdi. Mohammed will be hoping for better luck today. They are P15 and P16. Row 9, we find Armin Arifpour and, if I may say so, Lucky Kira, who was very unlucky yesterday and hasn't qualified quite where I expected to see him today. Adrian Sutil picked up a penalty and he goes to the back of the pack alongside Rocco Mazzola. They complete our 10 rows of Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli drivers. And we go live on board to one of our 488 Challenge Evo cars, and that of our pole sitter, Alessio Dono. And you can see how he's working the steering there and weaving from side to side, as indeed is Tom Fleming behind him. The reason for that is, despite the high temperature of the track, they're still trying to generate some temperature into those tyres. Nicolo Rossi then is one of our hard-charging Trofeo Pirelli Am stars, and he's doing the same, weaving from side to side. And while they're weaving from side to side, they oftentimes use the brakes as well, because the heat generated through the brakes will dissipate through the rims and onto the tyres, and therefore increase that tyre temperature just a little bit to give them the grip that they really, really need and want going into turns 1, 2, and 3. After saying all that, it will take a lap or so to bring the tyres up to the optimum temperature, and then it's all going to be about tyre life during the course of the race as well. The tyres that the cars are driving on are the tyres that they qualified on, the second part of qualifying. When it comes to qualifying, they tend to go out on a used set of tyres, scrub those in, or not scrub them in, but use them as they're getting their eye into the track. And then they will come in and go with a new set of tyres ready to put in their hot laps for qualifying, which is precisely what they do. Qualifying is formed of 2 parts, really. The race is formed of 1 part. It's 30 minutes long, and it is Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. We throw the music bed in for good measure. The Richard Mills safety car peels off into the pit lane. We are ready to go racing. Already some drivers absolutely champing at the bit to get going here, including Franz Engstler, who has tried really, really hard to get himself up the order. Once again, Alessio Dono with a textbook start, and Tom Fleming in P2. And Josef Kral into P3 as the cars make their way through turns 1, 2, and 3. And for the first time of asking, here they go to this right-hander and diving up the inside there. A very good move by Nicolo Rossi, if he can make that pay off. Early stages of this race, overtaking coming thick and fast from a number of the cars throughout the grid. There's James Owen, Lucky Kira, inter-Britain battle that's going on there. And James Owen, and there's David Gosner, who was so quick yesterday. And then diving to the inside is Hanno Laskowski, I think that is in the number 85 car, going to the inside of Simon Ladniak very nearly. So, the early stages of the race, first few corners done and dusted onto the power part of the track now, if you like, where it is all about out-and-out power. You can see the number 37 car of Mohammed Hamdi then, who thankfully has already gone further than he did yesterday in the race. And Nico, a pretty tidy start from our drivers. I don't want a commentator's curse it, but that's the way it looks.
Yeah, definitely. And you already mentioned Hamdi, who has gone forward and improved quite a few positions. Alessio Dono, very good start, dominant. And there you can see there is a move. Was that Hamdi on Hanno Laskowski? No, I think it was Rocco Mazzola next to the Laskowski car. Yes, it is a Trofeo Pirelli driver, so that was an inter-division battle. And the first lap is in the book, and it's Alessio Dono.
Yes, who's leading by a margin of very nearly a second already. But Tom Fleming, I think, is going to rely on the fact that he's going to nurse his tyres and his grip is going to be available to him towards the end of the race, and certainly in the second half of the race. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. We're on board with Alessio Dono right now, who's leading by, as I say, just under a second. And on board with Nicolo Rossi as we look back at the Simon Ladniak car. Simon Ladniak, of course, new into the Ferrari Challenge this year and a hugely talented driver who we will see very good things from during the course of the season. Of that, I have no doubt. But Nicolo Rossi certainly put it on him earlier on, and Nicolo Rossi certainly got the bit between his teeth, and he's running P2 in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli Am at the moment. That category being led by Franz Hengstler, and P3 is Hanno Laskowski, of course. So the top three in each, it's Dono, Fleming, and Kral, and in the Ams, it's Hengstler, Rossi, and Laskowski. So first 2.5 minutes of the race done and dusted, and the car's beginning and drivers beginning to settle down just a little bit. And it's a long way to go now until we see the checkered flag. But every driver trying to make the moves early on, and Adrian Sutil doing a brilliant job from the very, very back of the pack. He's moved up some 8 places already, which you may have seen on the progress chart on the left-hand side of your screen. And now Simon Ladniak losing out to Mazzola, who goes through, and that was a brilliant overtake from Mazzola. And if I may be honest, did Simon leave the door open there? Maybe just a little bit, but of course it does mean that there is a change of place in that particular order. And Simon Ladniak then and Mazzola, let's get a live gap between the two of them. Mazzola is already very, very quick, and well, he used the prowess that he got to get by Simon Ladniak. So Dono, Fleming, Kral, Hengstler, Rossi, and then in P3 it is Hanno Laskowski. So there you can see some of the errant rubber that's already been stricken off the cars in the earlier Copa Shell race. The Pirelli P0 tyres really take punishment on this very, very demanding Marco Simoncelli circuit. And diving to the inside now of Nicolo Rossi. And this guy is on something of a charge, Nico, as Mazzola goes through on Nicolo Rossi. Now, of course, that's actually academic in terms of the classes, because they're in different classes. Nicolo Rossi is an AM driver, and I suspect Nicolo Rossi, using his head there, thought, I'm not going to get involved in a battle here because I don't need to do that. Just going to let him go. Yeah, and Simon Ladniak is probably going to follow suit with Nicolo Rossi, probably allowing him by, and Adrian Sutil not far behind, because he's already up into P10 starting from P19, so making good strides. As you already said, Franz Hengstler, he is the one AM driver who's mixing it up, and he's running through shot here. The only issue Rossi has, if he lets those Pirelli drivers by, is that he will be right in the clutches of Hanno Laskowski. Yes, you're absolutely right. So here is the start once again, and again, Tom Fleming, for my money, didn't seem to get away quite as well as Alessio Dono. I don't know whether that was a part of a strategy or not, but Alessio Dono had got that start nailed absolutely perfectly. But then really going for it in the early stages of that race was Franz Hengstler. Look, I mean, he knew that he wanted to get up the road as much as he possibly could, and he did that in a very safe way as well. And there you can see the applause for the start. And already we are beginning to see, Nico, some yellow dots on our timing screen, which of course you at home can't necessarily see. All you will see is the consequences of those little yellow dots in a moment. What are those little yellow dots, pray tell? Those are warnings for track limits, and we've seen that yesterday in the race, because they played a key role in the outcome, with several drivers suffering penalties, including this very driver who crossed the line in P1 but found himself on the second step of the podium. Alessio Dono, we are talking about. He was relegated to P2 following a post-race penalty. And in the early stages, with only 6 minutes remaining, we already have quite a few drivers being warned about track limits. That doesn't immediately give a penalty, but you have 3 freebies, if you will. The 4th one carries a penalty, the 5th one carries a drive-through. You don't want to start early with that. No, absolutely. You've still got 23 3/4 minutes to run of the race. And you're absolutely right. You get 3 get out of jail free cards, if you like, and then the 4th one, you're ruled by a rod of iron. So Nicolo Rossi now under real pressure here. You said that Simon Ladniak would be in this mix as well, and Simon Ladniak is in the mix, but of course he's got the hard-charging Adrian Sutil, who is making very good progress, and has done so from the very back of the pack. We run on board with Nicolo Rossi now, Trofeo Pirelli AM driver, running in P2 at the moment. And Nicolo Rossi, it's a brilliant onboard shot to look from the back end of the 488 Challenge Evo, if you will, at the front of the Adrian Sutil car, and then the all-yellow car of Simon Ladniak that we can see in that shot too. So Alessio Dono, Tom Fleming, Josef Kral. It's the 1, 2, 3 in Trofeo Pirelli. In AM, it's Engstler, Rossi, and Hanno Laskowski. Let's go on board here and take a look at this as the fastest lap gets posted at 1:35.791. Comes from Alessio Dono as he stretches his lead to 2.176 seconds away from Tom Fleming. Now, thing is, whatever Tom Fleming's strategy is, Nico, he's got to keep within shouting distance of Alessio Dono, because any advantage he may have perhaps in the second half of the race with regards to tyre life, he's still got to be within pounceable distance, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, on the one hand, absolutely correct. On the other hand, if he feels like he can't compete with him in straight line speed by overdriving his tires, then his only chance really for the win is a safety car, which will bring him back automatically.
Fair point.
So if he feels like he would have to overstress his tires, maybe, you know, just letting him go, and even though you never hope for the misfortune of other drivers, it's part of racing that can happen, and then it might be better to just lay low for a bit.
Already, we're going to cross to Nico Spalek alongside me here, who becomes my legal correspondent because we have a penalty already.
And unfortunately, it's Mohamed Hamdi, who had a terrible race yesterday, which was very short and ended in the barriers, unfortunately. This race doesn't end, but it's a 5-second penalty with less than 8 minutes gone. So that, unfortunately, drops him down from his current P5 position.
So there you go. It really does have a consequence, doesn't it? And it's very, very early on in the race to start to see those penalties being awarded there. So already they are being awarded. We're watching Max Mugelli. Max Mugelli here in the number 3 car. He's being chased down by Rocco Mazzola. There is Rocco Mazzola, and there you can see Franz Engstler just ahead of those two drivers. Max Mugelli, of course, an absolutely fantastic driver, and may I say, not a bad on-air personality as well, where on occasions he appears on the Italian commentary of Ferrari Challenge. That is, of course, when he's not doing what he does best, and that's driving a racing car. Absolutely.
In the meantime, Adrian Sutil has dispatched Nicola Rossi, so he's gone up from P19 all the way up into P8, and he will be on the back of that pack, I dare say, fairly soon, especially if those two keep fighting.
Yes, absolutely. The more they fight, the better it is for Adrian Sutil, former Formula One star, of course, now racing in the Ferrari Challenge, into his 2nd season in the Ferrari Challenge. He will be on the back of them very, very quickly indeed. You're absolutely right. There is Franz Engstler. Now, Franz Engstler, he's leading in Trofeo Pirelli AM, and he's got the benefit at the moment, Nico, if I may say, of a cushion of 3 Pirelli cars between himself and the 2nd-placed Pirelli AM driver, which is, the 2nd-place Pirelli AM driver, which is Nicola Rossi, who in turn has got Simon Ladniak between himself and Hanno Laskowski.
Absolutely, and Franz Engstler it's almost remarkable and bears mentioning that he was one of the few drivers who was not warned about track limits yesterday, just showing how experienced he is and how he knows to control the car even with tire degradation and in very difficult conditions. So well done, and he will certainly try and control his race as much as possible, because as you said, his position is quite comfortable as long as he doesn't suffer a penalty. For the moment, it looks fairly decent.
And as you say, the experience runs rich through that team, because Franz Engstler is a hugely experienced racer. The team is being managed by a hugely experienced racer, former DTM champion indeed, Manuel Reuter, who will be on the radio to Franz Engstler all the time. But Franz has just got so much experience, and he's a very clean and tidy driver. He's almost clinical in terms of his cleanliness.
Oh, very good. Yeah, no, absolutely. And there we have a look into that very garage, and in the middle, the man with the white shirt, that is Manuel Reuter, in case you didn't recognize him from the rearward shot. And he's going to be talking. And there is Simon Ladniak on the inside of Nicola Rossi, and certainly that is move done. Again, Nicola Rossi, that is not someone who is fighting with in class, but behind him, the blue and yellow car
Hanno Laskowski is very, very close to him, Nico. All of a sudden, the cushion that Nicola Rossi had of the all-yellow Simon Ladniak car has gone away, and now he's going to be under threat from Hanno Laskowski, and we know how quick Hanno is.
Yeah, absolutely. And for Hanno Laskowski, motivation level on his chart from 1 to 10 has jumped to 13 at least, because he now has his prey, his target site just in front of him. So great racing here in the Ferrari Challenge, and we head back down to the pit lane where Ludovica has a guest.
Welcome back on pit lane. I'm here with Claudio, one of the members of Eureka competition team. Claudio, I want to ask you something about the race of Max Mugelli and the fighting with Marco Mazzola.
Yeah, so we are fighting with the P6, P4, or P5, and the target, our target, is to keep this position, because for the championship are good points. So basically we are in the slipstream with Engelster, and this is difficult for the tire because the pressure tire go really high and the temperature go high, so it's possible that the car sliding. So we have to manage the tire and don't keep the pass Mazzola in every point of the race, and respect the track limit, because a 5 second of penalty is not possible for take this position. So we hope that we can do this pace at the end of the race.
Really.
Thank you for your time, Claudio. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Ludovico. Really, really good information that we're hearing there in terms of course, what we don't necessarily always consider is the temperature rising, of course, when you're running in the hot air behind somebody else as well, and the impact that can have. And the team have got a strategy there, haven't they? And that's precisely what they're using with regards to Max Mugelli, who's currently running P6 in the race overall, but that is P5 in class, of course, because Max Mugelli is a Trofeo Pirelli driver. And now car number 37 gets a drive-through penalty. That is for repeat offending in terms of track limits.
And sorry, and that was the Mazzola move, and apology for cutting across you, but that was the move against Max Mugelli, and that renders all that what we just heard futile almost. That was a daredevil move, and it made him pay.
Well, Max Mugelli, very, very difficult because he is such a good driver. He won't have seen that coming, I would have thought, because there we are. But well done for you for interrupting and bringing us to that overtake live. I was saying that it is the drive-through penalty for Mohammed Hamdi. His repeat offences in terms of track limits. It's the first heavy-duty, really heavy-duty penalty we've seen, in addition to the 5 second time penalty. Now getting a drive-through penalty. It's, well, really, in replay, we can now see. How did he do this? Well, the door was left open. He went for it, didn't he? Fair play to Max Mugelli, who didn't turn in on him, which he could have done, because actually at that point you're almost ready just to turn in, and the gap that you want to turn into is full of another 488 Challenge Evo, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about another 488 Challenge Evo, Adrian Sutil has come into that mix, and so he is right on the backs of Max Mugelli. So if he felt like, oh, now I can try and go after and chase, well, he has to also again check his rearview mirror, because there is a former Formula One star.
He won't be threatened by that, though, I'm sure. Any more than Nicolo Rossi is yielding to the pressure that's being put on him right now by Hanno Laskowski. We right on board with Nicolo Rossi. These are the Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers that are fighting over P3 and P2. And Nicolo Rossi with Hanno Laskowski right behind him. And then coming into that mix as well is Lucky Kira. If anyone deserved a penalty, a podium, not a penalty, a podium this weekend, it's Lucky Kira. And he can sense that there's an opportunity here. If Lucky Kira can get onto the back of these two and then put the pressure on Hanno Laskowski, let him take the fight to Nicolo Rossi. Lucky Kira, another very wise driver. He'll let them do the fighting and be ready to pick up the pieces, if I may say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Half race distance in the books, half race distance remaining. And Lucky Kira, you said it yesterday, unfortunate. Now he is coming into play. And now we got a penalty for Simon Ladniak for track limits. 5 seconds for the moment. He's currently running last at the Pirelli, so not necessarily killing his race, but obviously limiting his chances for moving further up the order. There you can see Franz Engstler. And then the train of 3 red cars, and that is Mazzola, Mugelli, and Adrian Sutil.
Absolutely pinpoint accurate as always. The yellow car that you could just see into shot there of Simon Ladniak, who's picked up a penalty, as we have heard. So the battle for P6 between Max Mugelli and Adrian Sutil. Now, Adrian Sutil will try and get Max Mugelli to make a mistake here. I don't think Max Mugelli makes mistakes, or I don't very often see that. And certainly he didn't make a mistake when he was overtaken just a few moments ago by Mazzola. It was just he didn't really expect Mazzola to send it right up the inside, which he did. I mean, it was a brave and daredevil move. Fair play to Mazzola, though. It paid off, and it was brilliant for us to watch, or for you to watch, because at that moment I was distracted by the timing screen. But nonetheless, here is the live gap between Max Mugelli and Adrian Sutil, who goes to the inside here. And, well, who is going to come out of this with their nose in front as they head towards the next turn here, Nico? It's car 3, Max Mugelli, that says, Formula One star or not, friend, you ain't coming through, and closes the door right royally.
And it was exactly the same spot on the track, going through turn number 2, and Adrian Sutil will feel like, I almost had it, and he's going to go for it as well. Again, next opportunity. In the meantime, the lead for the race has stabilized at around 2 seconds between Dono and Fleming.
So 2 drivers then have suffered the wrath of Claudio Garavini, our race director, with drive-through penalties. And they are Simon Ladniak and, of course, Mohamed Hamdi. So here we go with Max Mugelli once again occupying defense mode from Adrian Sutil. Adrian Sutil has got the bit between his teeth, of course, having to start right at the back of the pack, and that was because of an infringement in scrutineering. So absolutely nothing to do with Adrian Sutil per se as the driver, but of course he suffers the wrath of any infraction, and that's why he had to start right at the back of the pack. He's now took a wide line there to try and get a slingshot to the inside, but Max Mugelli once again closes the door. Now Max Mugelli is having to work really, really hard here in defending. Sutil has got the pace, there's no question about this. This is the fight that is going on at the moment for P6 in the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli race. And here comes Sutil now. Where's he going to send it? Inside. Didn't quite get close enough to be able to do that, and Max Mugelli can breathe a small sigh of relief through turn number 2 and perhaps turn number 3 before one Mr. A. Sutil will have another go, Nico.
Yeah, definitely. Sutil certainly wasn't close enough to try there, but you could see Max Mugelli was taking the very defensive line through that, and that allowed Sutil to close in through the sequence of turns. And at the end of this straight is one of the opportunities where Sutil might fancy his chances. He's running behind him, he's running behind him, he's going to look for that opportunity. And there is Lucky Cara. No, sorry, that is not Lucky Cara, that is the number 86 car.
Yes, it is. It's Van, isn't it, that we are watching there, who is running P4 at the moment, who's trying to chase in Josef Kral, who's running P3. And at the moment, the gap has kind of stabilized where they are, and I just wonder whether Josef Kral is just managing that nicely. What I will say, and whilst I shouldn't have been distracted by the timing screen, the reason I am distracted by the timing screen is sometimes track limits, sometimes it's me monitoring the gap between P1 and P2 in the race overall, which has remained under 2 seconds. It's 1.6, but we've only got 10 3/4 minutes of the race remaining. So if Tom is going to take advantage of perhaps the tyre longevity he has, he's going to have to start ramping up.
Yeah, it was 2.1 at its peak. It's now down to 1.5, but it's not coming down significantly. So unless there is a penalty or potentially a safety car, I think Eliseo O'Donnell, you can give him the credit that he's managing the gap. But obviously Tom Fleming is keeping with him, and he's allowing himself to have a chance if things should go any way other than Eliseo O'Donnell wants it to go. Adrian Sutil, pressure, pressure, pressure.
Absolutely, you're quite correct in that, of course, in the ideal scenario, Tom Fleming would benefit from some either penalty or a safety car that would nullify the gap, perhaps. But we will see how that develops and whether indeed that happens in the remaining 10 minutes. Now, the battle for P6 in Trofeo Pirelli Am is between James Owen, David Gosner, and Danilo Del Favaro. Oh, who has gone around? Just as I mentioned his name, forgive me, Danilo, it had nothing to do with it. Danilo Del Favaro goes around, looks for a safe place to put the car back, pointing in the right direction again, and for the moment that three-way fight becomes a two-way fight, and it is between James Owen and David Gosner. David Gosner yesterday was hugely impressive, not only in the race, but also in qualifying as well. He got real pace, and James Owen doing a really good job in being able to keep him behind him. And here's Danilo Del Favaro. Let's watch his pirouette again in replay. Caught just a little bit too much of the curb. That made the back end even looser. And therefore, in that double apex turn, Danilo Del Favaro just losing the back end of the car. Good avoidance from the car that was following right behind.
Yeah, definitely. There we go to our two leaders in the race, Trofeo Pirelli, Eliseo O'Donnell, Tom Fleming, and you can see that gap is coming down. It's just under 1 second now, and you know, managing the gap is fine. Getting into striking distance, quite a different measure.
And getting past is yet another different matter. But we will see. 8.5 minutes. Tom Fleming and Eliseo O'Donnell, they're both young whippersnappers, Nico, forgive me, but they are. And, you know, they're driving with, you know, a strategic outlook. And I'm sure that I'm sure that Tom has gone into this race with a thought process in terms of how he's going to do it, or try and do it. Alessio Dono has got, and he's doing exactly the same, of course. So we will see if that gap maintains at around about a second or whether it comes down significantly. You can see the lights being flashed there by Tom Fleming. Why do drivers do that? Basically what they want to do is just use the flashing lights to distract the driver in front, if only for a millisecond, to lose concentration, or better still, to perhaps lose your track limits position and make a mistake and pick up a penalty. That's the reason behind that, keeping the pressure on. Josef Kral has dropped down the order, Nico, because Max Mugelli and Adrian Sutil have gone by him. I can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen, and Josef Kral is dropping way, way down the order. What has happened to Josef Kral, the Scuderia Prague driver? And
well, he lost 20 seconds in the second sector, so he did complete the sector, so he's running, but that certainly looks like he may have gone around or had some kind of problem or incident, so we'll monitor that. But this battle, we can't take our eyes off it.
Sutil could not be any closer to Max Mugelli if he welded the car, the front end of the car to the back end of Max Mugelli. Max Mugelli defending for all he's worth, and I have to say, to keep up this defensive mode for lap after lap after lap that Max Mugelli has done takes immense concentration, because they're both driving at such a speed. Here comes Sutil again, but of course the outside line is not the quickest line, but if you could put the car alongside, it gives you the inside line for the next turn as Sutil does that, but that becomes the outside for the next one. Again, Max Mugelli is able to shut the door on Adrian Sutil, but surely Sutil has got the bit between his teeth now. It becomes something of a drag race. He goes inside, then outside, then inside again. And wow, after lap, corner after corner of trying to do it, Adrian Sutil has done it, and he's gone through on Max Mugelli. Fair play, Mr. Sutil. That was driving beyond driving. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Right, to find out what's going on. Oh, as we see a car into the barriers. I was going to cross her down, and it's Alessio Dono, isn't it?
Yes,
that looks like it's Alessio Dono, or am I mistaken?
No, I think you are right. That is the ED on the helmet, and that is utter dejection. And let's have a look how that happened.
Well, looks like a tire was let go, I think. Or was that a lockup? Whatever it was, the pressure that Fleming was putting on Alessio Dono, maybe. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. That has brought out the safety car. Alessio Dono, who was rolling and running in P1, all of a sudden finds himself out of the race. Therefore, we have a new race leader. That's Tom Fleming. FF Corsa, of course, the garage and the team that engineer Tom Fleming. I know that Ludovica is with FF Corsa right now. Give us the update, Ludo.
Yes, I'm here in the Thomas Fleming box. What a race for Thomas. Now Eliseo is out, so Thomas is in maintain first position.
Yeah, no, look, Thomas is doing an amazing job. His first ever season in European Championship. He's only done a couple of races last year to get his license. He's a true natural kid. He's so young, so talented. He's just hunted Dono down for the last 10 laps, brought the gap right in, and eventually he's given in some pressure and taken the lead. Fantastic. So hopefully now a safety car, a couple of laps to go, we'll bring it home for a double victory at Misano.
Thank you.
No problem.
That would be absolutely fantastic. Now, I think, Nico, I've got no right to think. How dare I have the audacity to think? But I can't help but say, surely the pressure that Tom was putting on Alessio might have had an impact on that?
Well, yes, you certainly, as a driver who's chasing, you ideally want to pass the other car on the track, but the second best option is to push the car or the driver into a mistake or a problem and get by that way. And certainly Tom Fleming can put a check mark next to that. Alessio Dono, tough for him, really tough for the young kid. I mean, he is going to rebound. It's not going to ruin his confidence because he did nothing wrong as far as we can tell. But obviously...
It may have been something absolutely unrelated to that. It's conjecture at this point, isn't it? And Alessio is an immense racer. But as you just heard Tom's engineer say, so too is Tom, and he is a natural talent when you consider he only did a couple of races last year just to get a license, and he's come into this. I mean, he looked impressive in Valencia, but he's really, really impressed here in Misano.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the race pace was already hugely impressive in Valencia, qualifying not so. Tom Fleming corrected the qualifying for this event, and all of a sudden, he's looking at 2 race wins out of 2 races, so can't do much better than that. In the AMs, meanwhile, Nicola Rossi, Hanno Laskowski are P2 and 3. Franz Engstler, obviously, mixing it up with the Pirelli drivers, P4 overall, but P1 in class, and you know, I'm not sure if we will get a restart.
No,
I hope,
I'm not
but
sure.
I'm not sure.
No, I'm not sure. Listen, just before that incident, we were talking about Adrian Sutil and old hands. And then, Adrian, forgive me for the hand, but all right, very experienced drivers at the very highest echelon of motorsport, former Formula One driver. He has come from all the way from the back of the grid. Okay, he's had a couple of advantages in that other drivers have had to take drive-through penalties. Those are cars he's not necessarily had to overtake, although he did one of them, if not 2 of them actually. But can I just say, he is running P5 in the race, running P4 in class. That's a remarkable achievement.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get into the final sector of this lap, and I'm sorry for interjecting that, and the lights on the safety car are still on, and our race lap is 1:37, and we're down to 2:14. I'm afraid this race will end behind the safety car, and whatever standings we have right now are going to be the final ones. Yes, Adrian Sutil really came from the very back, and I think he did most of the overtaking himself, including
I agree.
Not only the AM drivers, but the Pirelli drivers. Max Mugelli, he really had to fight for it. Simon Ladniak, he really had to fight for it. And I mean, great race. And yeah, Eliseo Dono, he needs a moment to breathe, but he'll rebound. Spielberg circled in his calendar now even more than ever as he gets right back into the paddock. He's still in a very good position in the championship, make no mistake.
Of course he is, and at the end of the day, you have to consider that, you know, we're still in the early stages of the championship for this year. This is only event number 2, isn't it? You know, he'll pick himself up, dust himself down, we'll go to Spielberg, and you can see the disappointment on his engineer's face, though. And we still don't absolutely know whether a tyre let go, whether he locked up, whether he just ran too wide, and that made the tyre let go. Who knows? But you know, unfortunately, what we do know is that we're behind the safety car, and it is the final lap. So, Nico, I regret having to say that you're right, as always. The race is going to finish behind the safety car. There's no question about that. So the order that we have is absolutely the right order, and that is how the race will finish.
Yes, absolutely. So that means Tom Fleming P1, Benz Valand takes P2, and Rocco Mazzola round out our podium for Pirelli. So good showing from those drivers. Now, obviously, they benefited from Eliseo Dono's incident. Franz Engstler, he continues his perfect form, 4 races, 4 wins, and we will give him proper credit when he gets up onto the podium. Great racing from Lucky Cara, I have to say. He's not going to come up onto the podium, but P4 from him is really creditable. And he may be one of those who rules the arrival of the safety car, because he was on an upward trajectory.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you that he would have felt, you know, that perhaps a podium was within his grasp if we'd continued racing.
There we go into the final sector, the final time through the stadium section here in Misano, and it's behind the safety car. The safety car will probably dive into pit lane to allow Tom Fleming to take the checkered flag.
Yes.
With a clear stretch of tarmac in front of him, but obviously no overtaking before the line, and after the line, nobody cares anymore.
So you're absolutely right once again. And there, Tom Fleming, he does make it 2 out of 2 in Misano. He takes the race win ahead of Benz Valand, P2, Mazzola is P3, and then for the AM drivers it's Franz Engstler ahead of Nicolo Rossi and Hanno Laskowski. I have to say, Nico, if nothing else, here in Misano, the racing this weekend has been drama-laden.
Absolutely, yeah, and unlike yesterday, where penalties eventually were the big story of the race, to a degree, that hasn't been the case. Tom Fleming takes race win and makes it 2 out of 2. The HRO and FF Corsa team will be thrilled, as will be the Charles Pozzi GT Racing team for this driver, Franz Engstler. 4 out of 4.
The old hand The old hand knows how to drive a car, doesn't he?
And remember, he was elevated from Copper Shell to this year. And, you know, I mean, can we invent a new category for him where he will find someone who can beat him?
Old age pensioner. Oh, forgive me, Franz. Forgive me.
I'm out of here, thank you.
Look at the happiness on Nicola Rossi's face, and you can't really see that because of the crash helmet, but trust me, he is very, very happy. And we have extolled the virtues of Nicola Rossi because we've watched him in Ferrari Challenge for a number of years now, and he has just improved and improved and improved, and he is a regular podium placer, if not race winner now.
Yes, absolutely. I think he has an uninterrupted streak of, I think, 5 podiums or something like that, and 11 out of 13 or something. It's really, really remarkable, considering that before that first of those streak, he didn't have a single podium. So
No.
just to underscore how consistent he has become.
Yes.
And that is really, really, really good to see. Vance Valent with the hand out the window, certainly enjoying the prospect of getting up onto the podium, P2.
There we can see the number 23 car of Rocco Mazzola for Radici Automobili. I've been told how to correctly pronounce the team. It's not Automobili, which I have said previously. It's Automobili. Here's confirmation of the result. Shut up, Dave. Thomas Fleming, Vance Valent, and Rocco Mazzola, the 1, 2, 3 in Trofeo Pirelli. For Trofeo Pirelli Am, it's Franz Engstler, Nicolo Rossi, and Hanno Laskowski. And the rest of the order, you can see the classification, of course, runs to 2 pages. But Tom Fleming takes 2 wins out of 2. He'll love Misano, won't he? That's for sure. His first visit here to Misano as a competitive Ferrari Challenge driver, and he goes away with 2 wins. Yep, I'll take that, he will say. And yeah, well done indeed to him and to the FF Course team as well. Right, come on the roof of the car, Tom. Come on, come on, come on. Nearly. Yeah, just one more step, Tom. Oh. I'll have a word with him about that, you know. Well done, Tom Fleming. His family there to congratulate him. His dad, his mum. I mean, it's brilliant stuff, isn't it? And the team boss at FF Course are all delighted with how Thomas performed this weekend. And we saw glimpses, did we not, of the talent in Valencia. We have seen it in focus now in Misano.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as we see Franz Engstler and
being helped out of the car.
Oh, stop it.
You know I don't mean it, Franz.
There have been more than glimpses from Franz Engstler throughout his entire career, and he is continuing with that. Great celebrations here in Parc Fermé. And yes, absolutely, you're right about Tom Fleming. And just remember how we've seen great talent being nurtured here in the Trofeo Pirelli. Niklas Nielsen being one of them. And maybe it's too early to think about something like that. Nicola Rossi, well done.
Ronnie Kessel, team principal of Kessel Racing there, doing wanted a photo bomb there, and he was in, wasn't he?
Frivolity Unlimited here in the Trofeo Pirelli Ferrari Challenge here in Misano. Here are the results. Come on.
Right, in Trofeo Pirelli, Thomas Fleming, Vance Valent, and Rocco Mazzola, P1, 2, and 3. Trofeo Pirelli Am, Franz Engstler, Nicolo Rossi, Hanno Laskowski. Here comes the pit show right now.
Thomas, congratulations for the race and the podium. You made a perfect race from the start until the end. You won the race 1 yesterday and you win the race 2 today. This is very important, even for the ranking.
It's incredibly important for my championship. You know, our championship campaign going into this, despite it being my first year in, you know, professional car racing, was to win the championship outright. The guys I've got at FF Corsa and my family around me, they're just such an amazing group of people, and I'm really happy that I can give them the win today. It's just, yeah, we did a bulletproof race plan, and you know, no mistakes on my side meant that we ended up winning the race. So yeah, the the emotion is really high after this weekend, and yeah, to win 2 races in a row in your second weekend of the championship is very special. I can't believe it. So thank you to everybody watching at home as well for supporting me. It means the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a tear. He's such a humble young man, Nico. You know, fair play. Well done to the Fleming family there. And you know, let's not lose sight of the achievements that he has made in only his second weekend of real competitive racing. Well done, Tom Fleming. A very humble young man and very articulate and well-spoken. We'll be hearing from somebody very similar in just a moment. That is Franz Engstler.
Franz, what a weekend it is for you. You conquered Misano.
Yeah, no, it was really unbelievable. This race was fantastic. Also, the qualifying in the morning was really, really good. We can do the fastest lap in our class, and now the fourth victory in the first race. So what could be better? Thanks to my team, he did a brilliant job, and yeah, I enjoy it a lot. Misano is my favorite. Yes.
Thank you.
Well done, Franz Engstler, who will, of course, be returning to Germany via his free-of-charge bus pass. Well done, Franz. What a start to the season he's had. 4 out of 4. Here are the highlights. Enjoy. Just when you thought the drama could not be ramped up anymore. I stepped outside momentarily from our lavish commentary studio just a few moments ago to find it started raining here in Misano. I kid you not. Statistics, Trofeo Pirelli. Mazzola with the best progress, up 17 places. Trofeo Pirelli Ham, it's Lucky Kira, up 9 places. Fastest laps from Alessio Dono and Franz Engstler from the categories in there you can see on screen. Okay, we are going to be heading up to the wet podium next. So the first of the podiums we'll be seeing, and there you can see a number of people there who've just got their coat over their head because of the raindrops that are beginning to fall here in Misano. You couldn't make it up. Genuinely, you could not make it up. Okay, Trofeo Pirelli podium. Rocco Mazzola, Benz Valent making their way to step 3 and step 2 respectively. But on the top step of the podium, here comes one Mr. Thomas Fleming. Pretty happy with that, you know. National anthem time.
nostro grande applauso per I vincitori con il trofeo.
Many congratulations to our podium placers then, and trophy presentations to take place right now. You can see the podium in all its glory, and the trophies being presented as we speak to P3, 2 and 1, of course, in time-honored reverse order. And we just await the race winners trophy to be awarded to Tom Fleming. 2 out of 2 here in Misano this weekend. Coming to this weekend, and Andrea Albani, who we met yesterday, the managing director of the Misano World Circuit, making the Trofeo presentations, trophy presentations to the Trofeo Pirelli drivers, and of course the team of FS Corsa getting that trophy, and HRO, and of course very much, and Pirelli trophy as well. It's always double bubble for a Trofeo Pirelli race winner, because he gets not only the race winners trophy but the Pirelli trophy as well, which are always really rather nice. And the Misano trophies this weekend are absolute works of art. They're beautiful, and well done to all our drivers. And there's Mr. and Mrs. Fleming then enjoying the moment of seeing young Thomas up there on the top step of the podium for the second time this weekend. Following the Trofeo Pirelli podium, of course, we have the Trofeo Pirelli Am podium, but here are the cars that have delivered their drivers to their podium places. For Radici Automobili, Rocco Mazzola taking P3. Rosso Corsa Ferrari Budapest for Benz Valent, then P2. And for HR Owen, FF Corsa, the number 73 car of Thomas Fleming, P1, for the second time this weekend. Here then, confirmation of the Drivers' Championship points. Oh my goodness me. As we go to Spielberg in Austria, there's 1 point between Alessio Dono and Thomas Fleming. And Max Mugelli is P3 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. So, well, it couldn't really be much closer, could it? So we head to Austria for the next one. There you can see the drivers standing by for the AM podium. Here comes Hanno Laskowski. He, of course, will be taking P3. Well done, Hanno. Good weekend for Hanno. 2 podiums. Nicolo Rossi on the second step of the podium. And then climbing to the top step of the podium, my colleague alongside me has done the mix and has done the calculations. This is Franz Engstler's 456th thousandth podium and all race win, and the baseball caps come off, and here comes the national anthem for Franz Engstler as Manuel Reuter joins the podium as well.
Spuma l'inno nazionale, applausi per il podio, I trofei sono sempre presentati.
Once again, the trophies presented by Andrea Albani, the managing director of Misano World Circuit, who makes the trophy presentation first of all to Hanno Laskowski. He takes P3. P2 goes the way of Nicolo Rossi. And then, as I said, it's probably win or podium 456,000th time for Franz Engstler. I am being flippant, of course, as he receives his race winner's trophy. Well done, Franz. And Manuel Reuter, super racing driver himself, now managing the team. He receives the team's trophy. And here comes the Pirelli trophy as well, which is presented to Franz Engstler. And that completes the podium for our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli drivers, both Pirelli and Pirelli Am. And here are the cars that put them there for Emil Frey, Hanno Laskowski, P3. For Rosso, Nicolo Rossi, rather, Kessel Racing, engineer the car to take him to P2 on the podium. Well done, Nicolo Rossi. And then on the top step of the podium, Charles Pozzi, GT Racing, Franz Engstler. Once again on the top step, 4 out of 4 for Franz. Drivers' Championship in Trofeo Pirelli Am then. Look at this, 24-point advantage Franz Engstler has over Hanno Laskowski, who is tied on points with Nicolo Rossi, so it's joint P2. Lucky Kira up to P3 in the Drivers' Championship points now. Still a lot to play for before the season ends at the Finale Mondiali in Mugello. But of course, before then, we have a certain circuit in Belgium, Spa to do, and Estoril in Portugal, and Le Mans, of course. And of course, the next round, we will be heading off to Spielberg, which is some 630 kilometers or so from here. Please follow us on @Ferrari Races. From Nico and from myself and from our production team, a big thank you for being part of our program. Ferrari Challenge, both Coppicello and also Trofeo Pirelli here live this weekend from Misano. Thanks so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you in Austria. Goodbye for now.